Peace, 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 family. Peace, warriors. This is Dr. Siddiqui Chebaye, your host of the Men's Room Talk Show, every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, broadcasting live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'd like to welcome the listening audience from Facebook, Instagram, and also YouTube. Welcome, family. This is the room or the time or the place where you're going to hear some deep conversation with the brothers who are contributing to the upliftment of the community and contributing to the redevelopment of our community, to let each one of us know that there are some of us men who are doing something and doing something significant. And I want to introduce you to them. I'm not into separating the men from the women, but I just want to highlight the men so that we can get our respect back, so that we can be about upliftment of our community. And we want to be the leaders. We want to get our leadership back. And this is what this show is all about, family. And I'd like to thank you for coming in and joining us. Man, I'm feeling the energy already. Yes, and we have a dynamic speaker today. Dynamic. And this brother is a serious inspiration. Very inspirational. He evolved into a powerhouse, family, in business and in general as a child of God. And you're going to know that once he gets started, and this brother is all that. He is going to take us on a journey. Get ready, family. Get your pens, pencils, and paper ready, available, because he's going to take us on a journey of enlightenment. Enlightenment. And I want to introduce you to our brother, Uriah Israel. Welcome, brother.
Shalom, brother. How you doing, Dr. Siddiqui, and everybody that took the time out to join us this evening? We thank you all for all the places you could have been and the things you could have chosen to do. We thank you for taking that time out to be here with us, because a lot of great things were always acquired through sacrifice. So all I can say is this: you at the right place at the right time for the right reason and with the right people.
All
Praise
right.
Yahweh.
All right, brother. I appreciate that. And those who are here, supposed to be here. Those who are not here, is not supposed to be here. Everything is in divine order, no matter how it seems. So, family, I want to introduce you once again to our powerhouse, enlightened brother. A whole lot of things I could say about this young brother. You know what I mean? I've been knowing him for years, and I witnessed his development. I want to once again introduce you to Brother Uriah Israel. Brother, let me start off by asking you, what motivated you and inspired you to be on the journey that you're on now and to become that great powerhouse that you are today?
Well, it all started from, first of all, me coming into the awareness of who I am. And it was always a challenge to me growing up in Philadelphia, not knowing who I am by nationality, with a surname Hannibal. So when I had questions concerning that surname Hannibal, I always ran into a dilemma that never satisfied me to say, this is my roots. And in that journey to find out, I come to find out through that journey that the name Hannibal is not my original name. My true surname is what the God of the Bible have given us. And they say the God of the Bible have given us, which is a good name, which is Yisrael. You would say as Israel. And so in sense of that there, when you embark upon that name, there's a duty, there's a responsibility that outlines who you are and why you should be operating in such a capacity as you will do anytime you try to seek out information by seeking understanding of the meaning of a word and a name through scholarly reference materials. And when you find out that information in those scholarly reference materials, you can either be in compliant with that or against that. But in sense of that itself, here we are right now today, sharing my story just in part, but it's going to be shared with as a what you call a related party, because what I went through, you are going through also, or have gone through to come to the realization of who you are.
Excuse
So
me,
we're
brother.
going to go.
Excuse me, brother. Before you go any further, all those who are listening, please take your mic off. Please mute your mic because we can hear a lot in the background, and we want to give this brother our utmost of respect and consideration. Thank you, brother.
Yes, yes. And so what I went through, I'm sure you will see that you're going through that same journey as well. And so that takes me into whenever I can into my dissertation.
Go for it.
Okay, great. So my question to you, first of all, family, I'd like to share with you that Yahweh is God, and He is the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, the God of all existence. And it's also referenced through all scholarly materials. You can Google it, you can go to any type of old dictionaries, Bibles, things of the sort, and you will find out who Yahweh is. He also made a promise through that same book, which we call the Bible, that one was going to come and guide us into the knowledge of our true self, because he knew that we was going to go through a dilemma where we wouldn't know who we truly are during the time of his return. And since of that itself, he will perform a certain duty in the work using the same book that they use to be able to have our minds going southward. And at the same time, he will use that same book, which many men who have took that same book and exaggerated, turned the truth of Yahweh into a lie, and also constitute you to worship and serve creatures more than the creator. And they will also take that same book and create other institutions to bind you just to learn the principles, the working principles that outlines the success that you have acquired here in earth. But in sense of all that there, so here Yahweh have shared with me that what good is all this knowledge without having others to share with? And he said, I've called my angels to testify unto you these things in the churches of who he is. And we must show forth the example of his works through our actions. And in sense of that itself, here's what I share with you this evening. It started off is Yahweh is God, and his son Yahweh ben Yahweh has come to save and deliver us. I share witness of that factor. And all so-called black men and women of America and throughout the islands are Hebrews by nationality. Your history is Hebrew, your culture is Hebrew, your last name is Israel, which is a Hebrew name, and you have a homeland also. And since of that there, even if you don't believe as we believe, we still love you anyway. So in sense of that, I'd like to share with you today, that's all on the call. Who are you? Who are you? It's a statement presented as a question. Who are you, black man and black woman? Who are you? What is your purpose in life? Why was you born? Why were you even born? It's bigger than you saying my mom and my dad had the hots for each other. I repeat the question again. Who are you? Where did you originate? And what are your true roots? What is your nationality? What is your true identity? And what is your true name? Not your government name and not the slave owner's name, and not the bond that's used as a banknote. I'm asking you, what name do you identify yourself as being? If a person walked up to you today and asked you, what is your name? How would you respond? Say it out loud. How would you respond? What is your name? And if they stated to you and complimented your name, saying, that's a beautiful name, I like your name, but what do your name actually mean? How would you respond? In my assessment, I asked that question to a lot of people. And they say, my grandmother gave me that name. My grandfather gave me that name. Well, I don't know the meaning of my name. And you know you better than anybody. You've been with that name for all the 18 years plus. So when you was exposed to different factors in life, you took in the learnings from this cycle of life, through learning with this group of people, from school, from wherever that you gain knowledge, religion, wherever, and you incorporated it to yourself and said, here's what I am. This is what makes me who I am as this particular being. And now no one knows you better than you. So the question is, if you needed to know the meaning of a name or word, what reference tools would you use to gain the meaning of a name and a word? Exactly. You'll use scholarly material, you use a dictionary, use encyclopedia, you'll go to a book and gain more information related to the meaning of that name. Well, if you did not see any of these books around and you had to put the meaning, the characteristic, the nature, the purpose of your name into these books, what would it people be reading about you? Think about that. Because if you don't know your name, you don't exist. You did while living. What do you name? It's very important. Now, in sense of you coming to know about your name and to identify, here's what I share with you. A good name is rather to be chosen than fine gold and silver. And when you read in the scriptures, you read about where Yahweh presented himself before Adam in Genesis chapter 5, verse 2. And he said, male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day they were created. In Genesis chapter 17, verse 5, it stated that neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And then in Genesis chapter 32, verse 28, he said, and Yahweh said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince, as in 1 Peter 2, 9 and 10, has thou power with Yahweh and with men, and has prevailed. This here, you call the Bible. And it is just like any book. When you go to a bookstore, what are the 4 things that you look forward to when you go get a book from the bookstore? Number 1, you look for the title. Number 2, you look for the subject of the book. You look for also who's the author of that book. And number 4, how much it costs. Well, as important as this book is, what is the title of this book? They call it the Bible. It was an acronym. They call it Basic Instruction Before Leaving Earth, right? But now, what is the subject of the book? The whole Bible is about the God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel. All the blessings and the promises that's in this book, the Bible, outlines the God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel. Yes, other nations did exist during that time, but guess what? He was the God of the Hebrews, the God of Israel. All the blessings and the promises that's noted in here is directed to Israel. So in sense of that itself, well, who is Israel? As important as that name is, because Israel is someone who has been cut off from their true self. And when you say cut off from their true self, they wasn't just came out of osmosis, out of coincidence that they just didn't know who they are. It was a conspiracy that took place to cut them off from who they are. And that's in Psalms chapter 83, verse 1 through 5, where it states that many people have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And they were all confederate against us under one consent. So, in sense of that there, in verse 6, 7, and 8, it outlines who were those ones that decided to come together to cut them off from being a nation. So, as we look today and you ask yourself, well, if all the blessings and the promises are noted to Israel, I would want to know, especially if I'm reading this book, who is Israel? Because if New Jerusalem is coming down on the earth and Israel are the keepers of those 12 gates, then I want to know Israel so I can associate myself with Israel and find out what it is that's required of me that I must do and shall do to be a citizen of what we call heaven, New Jerusalem. That's more logical to me in sense of that itself, because I want to know who Israel is. But in sense of that itself, you'll find that Israel, who are walking around in America, not knowing that they are Israel, they're being called and termed by the names that they have been given through the time period of them being brought here to America against their will. Because when I asked myself the question, when we talked about Hannibal, I said to myself, why is it that if Hannibal has a name and Hannibal has a name, and I keep running into all these different colors of Hannibal, and I'm looking at the fact that these colors that I kept seeing was white pictures when I was going through school related to Hannibal, and I studied the color spectrum, and I know that there's only two colors, black and white, all in betweens are hues, and I know that black is a combination of all colors, but white is an absence of color, and I know white people couldn't have produced black, because they would have by now. So I said, well, we couldn't come from white folks. And then when I studied where he was from, Carnage, and I said, wait a minute, hold a second. They say that Carnage was the greatest bonfire known to man. But my question was, well, what was it that they bombed in Carnage? Come to find out, it was the library, the things that pertains to you and our true history, that outlines things that pertains to you and I, that was recorded from back then, and now it's not offered to you openly today, because those who are well learned, they have that information, but they keep it in an order of secrecy to never utter to you. So the chance of you ever knowing who you are will never come about to them. It have to come through what? One raised up among us who look just like us, who will come as a promise in Genesis 15:14, who said that after our 400 years of being in slavery, in Genesis 15:13 and Acts 7:6, that he will come himself and to deliver us from this dilemma of you and I not knowing who we are. But one of the major factors about Israel that we must understand, that there's 12 tribes in Israel, but one who has prevailed over all the other 11 tribes is who? Judah. And our Lord sprang out of Judah in Hebrews 7:14, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood, and this same one is Yahweh ben Yahweh. This same one is prophesied in Isaiah 9:6, that for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government should be upon his shoulder, and his name should be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. This same one is the one who is going to bring you into remembrance of who you are and your duty and your responsibility of who you are, as it relates to who the author and the subject of this Bible is. And his name is Yuhewave Yahweh, and he's the one who created all things on the earth, above the earth. He's the same one who declared the end from the beginning, who set the standard, in which case on what the role model and what the script consists of for your relationship with him and his relationship with you and your relationship to all things in creation. Because when he brought it before us, he named everything, he created everything, and he brought it before you to give it a name. And when you named it based on its what? Its nature, its character, its attribute, as it involves two mediums of light, darkness, good and evil. And when it was brought in that era for where light is, we wanted to see, based on its attribute of that environment of good, would there be a contrast? Then we took it over to the other side where there was evil and darkness, and see would there be a contrast. And wherever it was similar to, this is how we named it. So when we named it based on that activity and attribute and the character and nature. That takes us back to what? Your name. What does your name carry? What meaning and purpose does your name carry? How are we to identify with you? What is your integrity? What does your word stand for? How are we able to put the trust in what you say your name is to be that which you say you are? Because when you look in the dictionary and you find out certain words, you can say, well, I look up the name Yahweh and I see what Yahweh represents. Then I say, well, let me see if this is Yahweh as manifested before me in flesh. So when you look and find and study what Yahweh is and you see him manifested in flesh without deviation, because it's coming from scholarly material, it only validates that fact. That's like he said with you. And since of your name, will he give you a good name? He said what? He said, be ye perfect as your Father which art in heaven is perfect. He gives you a name which is more precious than fine gold and silver. Now look at the precious name that's more fine than gold and silver. Look at the value of gold and silver. The value of gold and silver values what? 999.9. So if you look at the value of gold and silver being 999.9, which means that there's 1 point that's in difference to 999.9. So when you study and master in your name as outlined by Yahweh's commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes, then you add that 0.1 to that 999.9, makes you what? 100. So it's all about being defined. Why you think that we have the issues that we have that goes about in our lives today is because we lack the foundation of our name. We lack the foundation of operating off our 10 senses, not 5 senses, the 10 senses. Because when we were in Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar rule in the story of Daniel, he said, I find these Hebrew boys 10 times greater than everybody in my realm of what? Harvard, Yale, Princeton, the military, and the think tanks. And when he saw that through the curriculums that was designed and developed for your child youth of growing up, he knew what they offered, what would gender a certain response based on how you see things that's dramatized in movies, how you see things dramatized on the news, how you see things that dramatize in your verbal, what you call communities. And people say certain things, they know your response. So when they know your response, because why? Because they gave you over to a mindset that makes you predictable. But when you keep your mind stay on Yahweh's commandments, judgments, laws, and statutes, see, there's nothing new under the sun. You know that what he gives you will raise your mentality, your intellect, you'll have a sense of logic compared to what everybody else. So Nebuchadnezzar said, well, how is these guys 10 times greater than my Yale, my Harvard, my Princeton, and my military. They had to gain a certain teaching, a certain knowledge under what? Under radar, in which case that made them go under disguise until it was a certain time in the day where that information was what? Revealed, where he was able to say they 10 times greater. Because why? Because he had the what? He had a book that outlines where their level of achievement stands when he said 10 times greater. He didn't say 7 times greater. He didn't say 5 times greater. He said 10 times greater. So how was they able to do that under disguise? Because when Yahweh made a presentation before them, guess what? They mocked at this information that when we share with you about the importance behind your name, behind the importance behind God's name, behind the importance behind that this Bible, the book, contains your true history, not some people in the past that existed. It pertains to you and our true history, our culture, our way of life, and our meaning towards life. And you who understand this from the sound of my voice will be able to come to understand these factors. That when it comes to you learning through school, they teach you your responses are based on sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. And this is the 5 senses that you are morally or what? Relegated to. But then when you are in the presence of your parents and they raised you up and they gave you a sense of examples, and they say by doing this, this is what leads you to what? Upliftment and good report, and also praise when you apply what? This form of discernment. And when you do wrong, this is going to constitute for correction and chastisement. Because why? Because it leads you to trouble, because this leads you to what? Getting corrected. So when you're around your parents, the test is not when you're around them, the test is when you're away from your parents. So when someone tries to entice you to do wrong and you seek not to do wrong because you know the outcome, and you choose to do right, and they question you, well, why would you do right when everybody's doing wrong? He said, because my parents taught me better. I have a better sense of discernment. And that relegates to what form of sense? Common sense. But when you justify wrong to be right because everybody's doing it and you get caught, that justifies you in the era of what? Nonsense. But both of them are what? 2 senses. But they won't tell you that or teach you that in school related to these 2 senses. Because why? Because they have your trust that what they give you through the school system is what you should only search for and lead yourself to the level of understanding. But that's not just the key by itself. The key is, how are they able to secure this level of perception and this level of response for such a long time without you being able to identify this dilemma of disguise? And
3
they
minutes,
do it
brother.
with,
3
and,
minutes.
thank you. And they do it from the school form by using 2 formula charts. They use the alphabet chart and they use the number chart to get you into their era. And once they use the number chart and the alphabet chart, they don't teach you that letters represent words. They don't teach you that numbers and numerals are 2 different distinguished tools that you use to utilize for your what? Your development as you grow forth in life. And then you find yourself calling letters gods when you say A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. You call letters, and they don't mean a word to you in the formula of what a letter outlines a word. But instead of that there, they get you in this next era, which leads you to the next sense, which is spiritual, and their corporal. But that's something we're going to learn on the next platform that outlines that, because it's very important once we come to know who we are and our true purpose in life, and as it relates to what? The commandments, the judgments, the laws, and the statutes, and what is our duty, then we can see a better response. we will have to be able to decipher ourselves from the medium of operating as males and be man. We must operate as man and not as males. And when we understand the difference between male and man, we'll get a better response concerning that, especially when it comes to our loved ones, our mates. Because when you look at male itself, as you spell it in the formula of an acronym, excuse me, and form as an anagram, it comes out as what? L-A-M-E, male. You laying to the responsibility of what a man is. And therefore, you not being able to provide a MEAL, a meal for the woman, mine, for the woman to take care of security for the home and everything. And then you go before the magistrate, and the magistrate takes before you your, excuse me, your source of revenue and make you pay what? Child support and things of the sort. Because why? Because you lack the responsibility as a man. And a man is dutiful. A man is responsible. A man has insight that relates to the future positive result, something that will continue over and over again. A man don't need another man to tell another man how to take care of his business, how to govern himself, how to govern his family, his home, how to govern the school, raising up the children, how to run politics for themselves, how to give them education, how to give them, excuse me, spirituality. A man already knows who the true example man is Yahweh himself. You must mimic the true man, which is Yahweh himself. And I know you say I have 5 minutes.
In 1 minute now.
Yeah. So since of that itself, there's a lot of important things that's relegated to you who has the potential to take something that you see that all of us are in every realm of what it takes to operate in the government. And you have a special talent and skill. And if you was to take that special talent and skill and incorporate it with another bone like your own bone, then we can be able to run not only America, but the world. But we have to do it what? In morality, with moral ethics. We have to learn what ethics represent in the application and the duties thereof. We must learn how to be upright, moral, just, honest, good. We must have great minds. We must have goodwill. We must be principled. We must be ethical. We must follow in truth. We must, be straightforward. There's many things. We must be cautious in the things that we do. And that outlines our responsibility. We must hold ourselves in due bounds regarding this principle. And this is what identifies who you are by name. Your name is not questionable. Your name is validated. So if I want to know something about you, all I have to do is go to the dictionary or to a reference note and define who you are, and I should look for that in you. And if we can have a society that grows like that and learn ethics, especially from the children, from the womb growing up, they're going to be able to produce things related to ethical practice in their profession. They won't be unethical producing food that harms you. They won't be unethical doing surgery work that will break your part and leave tools inside you. They won't be doing things that lead you to a point where it separates the father from the child and the mother from the husband. We wouldn't find ourselves in those dilemmas where our children are looking for a job from another species. Our children supposed to create jobs. We all claim that we are children of God, and he created everything. He's intelligent. So if he created everything and he's intelligent, then why are we not acting like it? They say we can't acquire perfection. What is perfection? How do we understand what perfection is? What is the recipe that outlines perfection? Let us put ourselves to the test and see if perfection is acquired. The laws of the Lord Yahweh is perfect. Keep the laws. The law is not done away with. Keep the law and be perfect in the law, but keep the laws with an understanding.
Yes, sir.
And if we can do that and come together with that understanding, then all that we imagine to do, nothing shall be restrained in which we have imagined to do, because the people will be what? One.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, brother, that was deep. We must take that under advisement, family. Check it out for yourself. I know a lot of times we'll say something to each other and we'll automatically just throw it away, reject it. Take it, just like you do in these schools that teach you how to be fools. We'll take it and we'll study it and we'll flip it and we'll get it the best way we can. And to the brother's point, thank you, warrior. Man means mind, a thinker. If your mind ain't right, there's no way you can be spiritual, because the mind is the gateway to the spiritual. And name means nature. What is your nature? Food for thought, family. So we're going to go into a 5-minute break, and I'm going to, as I usually do, give you some raw food for thought. You know, because we are mind, family, but they dulled us down with their so-called education. You know, like I said, I've been through college for 11 years, and it's a miracle that I'm not caught up into this nonsense of this brainwash. So I know both sides of the fence. All praises to the Creator for that. And so with that in mind, family, I'm going to give you some raw food for thought to wash down, you know, some water to wash down what the brother just shared with us, because it was heavy. And so with that in mind, the first raw food for thought, family, that came to mind in my book, it seems to me, the things that we must acknowledge. And through your knowledge, you will acquire understanding. It says, fight for your own existence or be lost forever. Life is about the survival of the most fit. Be mentally prepared first, family. Everything in life is about preparation. We have to be prepared. But unfortunately, we blindly go out there in this world and, you know, based on emotions and all this kind of nonsense, like we children. Children operate on emotions. Man operates on intelligence. Just saying, it's very simple. You know, and you ain't got to get deep with that, because life is simplicity. But we've been catching hell for so long, we think everything's supposed to be rough. And if it ain't rough, it's hard to believe. Oh, that's too easy. Well, okay. Thank God for the easiness. Because we've been catching hell for so long that we think everything's supposed to be hellish. So the next food for thought, family, is how can you be ready for anything that you are not prepared for? Preparation is the key to it all. We have to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you'll be out there, you know, just chasing your tail. Tired as hell, but you ain't gained an inch. So we must change our style, family, especially when it's not working. Why keep hitting your head against the wall, blaming the wall? Get your head out the way. Let's get real. That's raw food for thought. I always give that. And there's no shame in my game, family, because I'm honoring and represent those before us. Even those characters in the Bibles and all these holy books, they are our ancestors. You have to, they're metaphors and allegories and stuff, but you got to get into it. You got to dive in to really get the meat of it. Because they gave us a shiny bone with no marrow in it. And we smiling and bragging about it, but we still starving and hungry. So I'm here to give you some food, family, food for thought, some raw food for thought. And the last one, family, that I like to share with you, food for thought, is we cannot be afraid to tell our story about our enslavement and our continued oppression, or why we are the way we are and have become today. That's what the brother was telling, what we have become today. We're something other than who we really are. And we got to learn to be comfortable with it. Oh, you got to die from something. Yeah, okay. Well, life is for the living. You know, you got to die from something. Oh, okay. Well, why suffer why suffer along the way? So the dying is losing your old self and bringing a new self. That's what true death is. So learn and study the universal law of cause and effect. These are universal laws, family. Universal, because we are the universe as individuals. That's just like if I take a grain of sand off the beach and I take it home with me. Don't you know that that grain of sand, it represents the beach? It's still the beach. So we still are who we are, even though, we've been bamboozled, at least. So we got to get into universal laws, universal truth that fits the original man, the original woman, not somebody else. And then last but not least, family, we must learn these universal laws to live by what is true, not what has been given to us, but what is true. And we got to, and my last thought before I bring the brother on for the second half is, if a dog bit, I always use this analogy, if a dog with rabies bit me, and then he turned around and bit you, why are we fighting each other? We got to come together and get that damn dog. Doesn't that make sense? That's a sign of intelligence. What we really are. So we have to turn this thing around, family, and not be afraid. I'm not afraid to tell the truth because Siddiqui means truthful, and that's my nature. Baye means straightforward. That's me. All day, all night, and forever. And so, family, let's choose choose a name that has a meaning of who we really are. We are spiritual first. They told us we are physical, mental, and spiritual. No, that's them. We are spiritual, mental, and physical. Always. So let us continue to honor and represent those before us so that we can get our blessings. Be honorable, family. So I would like for each and every one of you to turn your mics on. You can turn your cameras on too. If you have any questions or observations or comments on Brother Ishmael, then we can, you have the floor to do that. Anyone right now, if you have a question or whatever, you got the floor. Let's show the brother some love. Come on, family. I know, okay, you telling me that you know everything? That you don't have to ask questions? So let us, show that kind of love and respect that we need, because all of us know something. And once everybody come together, look how big everybody becomes. No one knows everything. Life is too big for that. It's in us. We are complete, but yet incomplete. The incompleteness is that we got to dig deep within us and bring it out. And we do that through each other. Through each other. Energy recognizes energy. And we are energy with a face. We are spirit with a face. So if I'm a plumber, I know if you are. All I gotta do is watch you for a minute. What you doing with that hammer? You should have a wrench. So with that in mind, family, it's a miracle we can laugh, but all laughs is not funny. So please comment and ask the brother a question of concern or whatever, because no one knows it all. You don't have to be embarrassed or feel bad or anything like that, because we're in this together. We got in it together and we got to come out together. But the brothers got to lead the way. We're the warriors that's going to lead, guide, direct, and protect everything about us. So who's going to be the first? All right now.
I take what, even if they don't have a question or concerned, I take their moment of silence as a jewel that outlines in the scripture. And with Jeremiah 15:16, thy words was found, and I did eat them, and thy words were unto me a joy and rejoicement to my soul. When you full, all you want to do is sit back and digest and say, wow, I am full, and just like another scripture that outlines the senses, not common sense, nonsense, not being lawful and being unlawful. It says butter and honey shall you eat. So you know to choose the good over the evil. And all we ever been presented with was evil all our lives. That's why they say everybody born in sin. Of course, because they never taught you how to be ethical or what ethics outlines. And you never saw it in your politics, in your education, in your economics, in your social networks, and your spiritual institution. And those five power structures, they do not require you to be ethical in any one of those things. So if you ain't learning ethics in school, then what are you growing up learning? How to be what? Disorderly, unethical. And then you say, I blame it on the children.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's true, brother. Now, can you share with us, brother, what year or what was your age when you came into the light?
When I came into the light, I was 17 years of age. I graduated high school at 17. And when I came out in 81, in that summer, that's when a friend of mine told me that Rudolph L. Windsor was going to be present at this YMCA in Philadelphia, Broad Master. And I had to go see because I wanted to know something about what you call Hannibal. And in Cincinnati itself, he mentioned about a black Bible that the Moors used to always tell me about, that the Bible was always black, pictures and everything in it. And the government had went about seizing this. The government told the CIA to confiscate all Bibles that had black pictures. And if any Bibles is out there with black pictures in it, they wouldn't give it up, they'd kill them. So that's the story they told me. So I wanted to see what this black Bible was all about and what it tells. So from that there itself, I came across the book, Our True History, the World's Best Kept Secret, Yahweh God of Gods. In relationship to that itself, it was a matter of me validating it. And when I researched it and validated, and by going among people who I've been going to all my life about questions and concerns, they told me you just got to believe it. When they gave me an answer and they couldn't validate it, and I had the scriptures that validates everything that I was seeking for, and I asked them the questions, they couldn't give me the answers. I knew from there that I had something very powerful. But what solidated even more was when I went among other nations and I went speaking the truth of what I have, not to teach them, but just to share with them that I know these factors. And this is what their response was. I knew that all along. My parents told us to never tell you. When did you find out? Oh, it was over. I was like a freight train with no brakes and no gears. I just had to go forth and share this with everybody. And a lot of people tell me from the other, they say you a loose cannonball.
Wow.
Because I'm with the truth. It's our truth. It's our history.
Hey, brother, I can relate to all of that, brother. And that brings to mind that crazy people think everybody else crazy. So I understand that. See, understanding can take the sting out of a lot of things that are really hurting or troublesome or bothersome or whatever. We got to get to that level of understanding, family. And we had those levels because life is about understanding those two words, under and stand. When you look at a tree, what's under, what's standing? The roots. So if I know the roots, I understand, then I know what the tree is all about. So we got to get deep, family. We got to stop expressing ourselves and thinking like we are children. We got to go over and beyond that. So that Black Bible and so forth, I used to sell the Black Bible way back in the 80s when I had my health food store. And Brother Uriah used to come around and we used to dialogue back and forth and so forth and so on. See, the truth is the truth. No, it doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter so much about what you call yourself, but it's what you're doing with yourself. How are you expressing yourself? How are you executing yourself? Not so much what you're calling yourself. Anybody can choose whatever, but I'm looking at what you're doing. So family, please. I mean, let us find a way to join minds. That's what they don't want. We have to find a way to join one another because all of us got the same enemy. We weren't slaves, we were enslaved. Let's get this straight. We were not slaves. We were enslaved. But guess what? We have enslaved ourselves now because of our style. We got to come out of there, family, and be the God-fearing people that we truly are. We are spiritual first.
Okay.
Brother Uriah. Yes, ma'am.
This is Harriet Atkinson. I have a question. I understand
yes,
that you are a fantastic businessman in Atlanta, Georgia, and I want you to go over the services that you offer and tell us about that part of your life and how the Creator has helped you to achieve what you already have, and the multiple businesses that you have.
Okay, well, first of all, our culture outlines, it says there's always much business in Judah. And then also in the scriptures, Yahweh said, I have given you every herb bearing seed for food, for season, and for healing. So everything he created and made is truly ours. It's our inheritance. We have to understand what these things are and utilize it to be able to produce something from it in abundance. And what constitutes my business to be in such a vast amount of business that I have, it all started from me understanding Haggai 2:8. It said, the silver is mine and the gold is mine, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, right? And since of that itself, money is the defense, wisdom is the defense, and money is the defense, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. As important as money is, what is the true purpose of money? The true purpose of money is for what? Reproduction. Knowing that does not mean you're going to acquire it. You have to know Yahweh's 10 principles that outlines how to acquire money. So in Cincinnati itself, we moved here to Atlanta, Georgia. When we moved here to Atlanta, Georgia, we had nothing but what we had in Philadelphia. We had a tour and travel business. We owned a real estate, and we were self-employed. So from that being here in Atlanta, Georgia, right, I sold my properties there in Philadelphia. I sold my properties there in Philadelphia. I closed my tour and travel business down. And in Cincinnati itself, I went into the marketplace to meet people because we didn't know nobody here in Atlanta. So I started working at the airport, not to work there, but to meet people. And so in Cincinnati itself, I started what we call a product. When I saw that one of the key things about what makes money, I saw that everybody needs products and service. I had to figure out what products that everybody needs, everybody wouldn't mind telling other people about. So I acquired those products and I market those products. And when I market those products, it outgrew what I was doing here to the point where I went to Philadelphia and offered the same products there as well, but on wholesale and retail. Then I went to Miami, Florida and offered the same product. And I created a pipeline. And so when I did that itself, I did that for 3.5 years just to show people that the same ground that grow for fruits and vegetables for other nations that make them self-sufficient, independent, is the same ground that's available for you and I. We just got to take those principles and plant them to the earth, go to work. And since that there, I went on and started another business, which is a limousine business. So when I started a limousine business from, just using my regular personal car, and going to hotels and going to different places where other people be at and just market a service. And when I know other people have other types of vehicles, I network their vehicles for my fleet to be able to provide service to the people. And since that itself, I took those revenues, like the purpose of money is to reproduce itself, go on and buy homes, fix and flip them. So you fix and flip them, become a real estate investor. And then from that point itself, then, then I find myself being able to bless a lot of other people from all nationalities. I have people from all nationalities that works for me, that works with me. And I show them and impart to them these principles, just like our law entails, that when a person works for you, they work for you for what? For 6 years. In the 7th year, we retire them. And if they're paying any attention to the principles of success, they could take those same principles in the 7th year and do what? Duplicate the same system elsewhere, but be ethical and moral with it. And then they could be able to do what? Have a business for themselves. Not go stay with me for 7 years and then get what? A diploma, a degree, and come out with what? Being broke? No. So the things that I do with concerning our business is all based on the principles. Yahweh Ben Yahweh showed us in the short period of 7 years how to produce $500 million, $500 million in a short 7 years. And we had a bus company, we had manufacturing plant, distribution centers, we had, we had our own nursery, we had our own school, universities, man, we had everything. We were self-sufficient and independent, didn't need no grant, didn't need no government assistance. He showed us by us all coming together and work collectively under Yahweh's commandments, judgment, laws, and statutes. Anything that you imagine, nothing shall be restrained in what you have imagined to do. And this is not no secret. You could do the same thing, but you need Yahweh's system, his order, and his process. Because you can do all the things that you say you was told to do, but then you wonder why your mesh not rising, because you lack the yeast. The yeast has a name, YAHWEH.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, the yeast has a name, YAHWEH. That will make your unleavened condition rise. That's why Matthew 11:28-30 speaks about, take my yoke up on you and learn of me, for my yoke is easy. Study that process of taking his yoke up on you and learn of him. Guess what? You will find out that in that process that you will be able to rise for the occasion, for what it is that you need, whatever it is that you desire. And don't be selfish with it. What good is having all these portions of heaven without having like-minded brothers and sisters to share with? It's easy to make money. It's easy, family. It's once you know the recipe, it is so easy, but you just need to know the recipe. But it's not all about just getting the money itself. Charity is the key. When you have Yahweh's commandments, judgment, laws, and statutes, he said, like I said, I got to be redundant. Anything and everything you imagine to do, nothing will be restrained for what you imagine to do. Because one thing for sure, he will never see the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So in order to trigger that into the process, you got to be what? Righteous. That's your first stand. Righteousness exalts you.
Yes, sir.
But sin is a reproach to all people.
Oh,
And we run an ethical business.
Oh, that's beautiful, brother. Congratulations. And may Yahweh continue to bless you through your efforts and all your team members. And I like to in this segment by you having the final word, brother, and then we'll close it out, and we're going to go out and we're going to put in motion these successful practices. So you have the last statement, brother, before we close out.
Okay, here's my statement. First of all, this book here, you can go right online and you can go to YahwehBenYahweh.com to the website and get this book. This is the book that brought me to my learning when I was at the age of 17. Get this book. It's a must-have, just like the Bible. You have to have that. You have to have this in your home, and it validates everything. And I'm gonna share something in the words of Yahweh Ben Yahweh relating to one of the moral attributes called character, which is a part of your name. He said, I come from heaven. Excuse me, family. My reading glasses. He said, I come from heaven. I come with heaven to establish heaven in a hellish environment. I have found and identified those who wants to be my servants of integrity. I am come to identify with you who wants to be servants of superior character. I am come to identify with you who wants to be servants of morality, rectitudinal servants. You who desire are a rare person. You who wants to be good, you that love good is attractive to what I'm sharing tonight. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is here to set you free. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is not here to condemn you, but to show you how to be set free. I profess you are a child of God. You profess that you are a child of God and you reflect his nature. You should display and exhibit and study his nature. Matthew 5:48.
Beautiful.
And take on a new desire.
Beautiful. And you mentioned a lot nature, and that's why a name means nature. So be careful what you name your children. Be careful what you name yourself. So so with that in mind, Warrior, I really appreciate you for having the courage and the drive, brother, to share with us what you have been blessed with. And we don't even have to go through what you went through to get it. That's the blessed part about it. And all of us know something. So we got to come together and share what we know, and look how big everybody become. So there's no need to hate. It's all about love with respect. Love, respect is the foundation to love. And that's why the love ain't nothing but an emotional thing there. It comes and goes. But if you got respect there, it will always be there. And you'll make sure that it's always there, because love is action, period. So with that in mind, family, thank you, brother Uriah Israel. I really appreciate you, brother. And we're going to do all we can, brother, to really carry out those things that you have shared with us, because we can't go nowhere else but up. So let's go up together, family. And with so remember, family, to always stay strong and keep your faith where it belongs. That's the challenge. Do your best and let God do the rest. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. How do you know when to hold and fold? You have to have a sharp discerning spirit to know the difference, so you won't be using emotions. Family, right thinking, right giving, and right eating is holistic living. And we must be holistic once again. And it comes by us coming together, being real, sharing our light, so we'll be a powerhouse. So family, with that in mind, happy new journey, happy new life, happy new you. Until the next time, family, study to show yourself approval and lean not to your own misunderstanding, but rightly dividing the word of truth. So family, have a blessed week, have a blessed life, and I'll see you the next time on time. Love with respect. Baraka and Hotep.
Hotep.
Hotep. Thank you, Warrior.